Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new here, and welcome to episode 2 of the Build Your Own Budget Planner Using a Notebook series. For this video, I'm going to be doing a debt tracker, like a debt overview tracker, as well as a debt payoff tracker. Last week, we created the budget overview, as well as the budget category spreadsheet, or not spreadsheet, budget category breakdown over here. So this is what we did last week. This time, I'm going to go ahead and build out the debt overview list and a debt tracker. I'm going to insert a photo over here to show you guys my very first debt overview that I created back in 2018. That was our balance, our debt balance as of that month, but we did have debt way before that. We actually had 2 in collections. So that was just the 46K was the debt as of that time when my husband and I got serious with paying off debt. And listing it out was really a game changer because it kind of opened our eyes and made us face all of this debt that we had that we needed to tackle. So that's what we're going to create over here. I still have my list over here that I'm going to be working off of. For those of you who are new here, we are now debt free, but I do want to create this page to show you guys how I was listing out our debt. And at the time we did list it out in snowball order because we had a lot of small balances, as you guys will see. Let me zoom in really quickly. Okay, I'm going to do some kind of lettering so it's not as boring as that one. I'm going to attempt to make this look nicer. Debt. I actually used to letter a lot before when I was into my just regular planning, but I've just lost touch of it. I only really do hand lettering now on like gifts, which I'm thankful for the skill because whenever I personalize a gift, they're always like, oh, this is so pretty. It's just kind of nice. So that doesn't look all plain. So debt overview, and what I like to have on the headers here is the debt over here on this side, debt, and I like to include the balance as of, meaning like what your current balance is as of this date. And this was as of June 2018. Interest on here is super important to have, just so you guys can see why maybe your every time you pay your minimum payment and then you check your balance next month, you're like, didn't I put money into this? Why isn't my balance going down? It's because of interest. And then the minimum amount due. And then I think on this side, I'm going to put paid off date so that you can put down the date as you pay them off. So the very first one we had, both my husband and I had a personal loan through Landmark. And this one started off originally, I remember this, a lot of bad money mistakes. I wish during our wedding time that we had been on this getting better with money journey, because a lot of our debt really was from our wedding and it kind of sucked. So our Landmark original balance was $3,000, but at this point, the balance was $281. And I remember this tax season, so this was in June, so in March, or whenever we got our refund, and I remember that it wouldn't let me pay off the entire balance. It would make me do, I think at most $600 per each account. I don't know, it was something weird. And I don't know if that was because of the contract that we had to pay a certain amount of interest or something, no matter what. I don't know. I think that's how it was. The original balance of this was $3,000 that we took out back in 2015. So 3 years, you guys, to pay it off. Look at the interest, 36%. That's freaking nuts. So, we owed our minimum for that every month was $150-$120. And I was just so excited to finally pay this off. It was such a headache, but you learn, right? So hopefully our kids won't have to go through this, make better money decisions than us. Our third one is Capital One. And this one, I like to put initials on who has what card. And this one's my husband's. The Landmark, of course, we no longer have. Our Capital One, I believe this one we still do have. And that balance was $350. Interest was $27.15, and the minimum amount due is $25. It's crazy how some of this looks like it's in avalanche order as well, because the interest, you guys will see later, will kind of go down, but it is in snowball order. We did end up switching later on to the avalanche method, I think in 2019. So number 4 was my Wells Fargo. That was mine. And back then, see, this one I opened up for our wedding, and it was an unsecured, or it was a secured card, meaning that you would put $300 in it from your own money. They give you a card with that amount, and as you pay that off responsibly, then they give you a unsecured card. I get those terms confused, but that was a mistake. I wish I didn't do that, but I don't know, you guys, just some bad financial decisions. And then $15. My hope for that, or for this card, was that they would approve me for a higher credit limit and we would be able to use that for our wedding as well. So Capital One, I don't think I've really talked about this as much whenever I do any of these like debt payoff or debt overviews and stuff. So it's kind of nice to just reminisce and just think back and look how far we've come since then. So yeah. Capital One, we still have this. We also still have the Wells Fargo card, which is now credit line increased to $3,500 for that one. And then this one, the balance is $994 and the interest was $27.15, and then the minimum for this was $32. It's crazy how the minimum on these is like so low, so when you pay it off, it's not, all of it's not going to principal, obviously, because you got the interest and stuff. So just looking at these and paying the minimum, we knew we could afford the minimum. That's why we were cool with our debt for a really long time, but it just, for the amount of years that we've had this debt and had it maxed out, it's just crazy. Then Chase is next. This one is mine. The balance back then was $996, and I can't remember the interest on here. I left this one blank last time too, so the minimum on that was $25. I still do have this card. And then number 7 was my husband's Discover, which he also still does have, and his credit increased to, I believe, $9,000 now, and this one is 25.24%. It's $40, and then 8. So this one, I think I have mentioned this one before, the Barclay card. It was when I purchased my MacBook. This one's mine, and it was, I think, originally $1,400. And I still have that card now, and that one's, the credit line increased to $65, and then the monthly for that is $75. And then Synchrony, I still have this one too. It's an America's Tires card. That's how we got this credit card, and it's when I needed tires, like a lot of stuff done to my car, and we didn't have the money for it. We didn't have a sinking fund back then, so we decided to open up a card, and that's what we used. And we ended up using it for gas later on and stuff. We still have this card. We do like to use it sometimes when we are on a road trip, just so we can put all of the gas on there and then pay it off with our sinking fund. And this one, the minimum is $75. Oh, this one is actually not $75. This one is $27. Yeah, so we still have this card. And then my husband's card. So this one, I found out he opened up to finance this ring right here, my engagement ring. And I didn't know that at the time, actually. So the interest on that was 29%, $56 monthly. And then Capital One Quicksilver. That one is mine, and I did open this one for our wedding as well, and my goodness, just a lot of this debt came out of our wedding, pretty much, and I totally regret it. And I remember my mom saying, like, man, the amount that you spent for your wedding, you could have had as a house down payment. And yeah, she was totally right. But, you know, back then, I wasn't where I am financially as I am now. So mindset-wise, not money-wise, but mindset and stuff. So Capital One, this one is my husband's, and this one's at 1888. And these were all maxed out, pretty maxed out numbers. I should have probably put a line on here if you guys want to do that, where you put the credit limit, just so you guys can see how closely maxed out it was, or isn't, or what the credit line was back then. That might be a good column to have on here. Kind of wish I did that. And this one was 19.80%. So far, the highest interest on here is Landmark at 36%, and this minimum is at 56. I don't know where my camera cut off, but with the Wells Fargo card that my husband had, I do remember they closed this down because we were delinquent on the payments for a couple months, and ended up just closing the account. Don't remember if it went into collections. I don't think that it did, but that was before 2018, because in 2017 we were actually late on a lot of things. So yeah, that card we no longer have. Navient is one of my student loans, and you guys, I've had these collecting student loans. I know it's not as much as you probably see out there. I was very fortunate enough to receive grants and waivers back then. So yeah, student loans I've had since 2003 and just got paid off in 2021. And the balance to me wasn't even that much, where I should have paid those off a long time ago, but it is what it is. So 5.55% for that. Minimum was 75. And I think for a couple years, I applied for the, I forgot what it's called, but so that your minimum payment every month is lower, because I think the minimum due was over $100, but I got it down to below that, just so we can tackle the rest of our other debt and pay the minimum on everything else. And then this one was a joint one between my husband and I, and this one was also for our wedding. And the original balance for this was $10,000, which after interest ended up being like 11 something. So getting it down. So we started at 10K we took out that loan in 2015 during the summer, because our wedding was in August. And so the payment plan for this was bi-weekly, so not monthly, so bi-weekly. The interest is $24.36. So I think on here I put down $400, but really it was $200 bi-weekly. So there were some months where we had to pay it. It looked like in the calendar month that we paid it off 3 times. So $600. So $200 bi-weekly. It took us 3 years to get to this balance. And then our car loan that we got in 2014, I will never forget, because my son was 1 year old. And the balance there was $48.14. And I believe we started with 20K on this in 2014. And the minimum on this was $485. And then my federal loan, the very last thing on here, so you guys can see I have a very long list, and they're mostly consumer debt. And this one was at $16,201.12, and this one was at I don't know why on there I put 24.36%. I don't think that's right. I remember it being like 5 point something percent, so I don't think that's accurate. And this one is at 145. The minimum on here, I remember being like around 2 something, but I got it down to this amount. We have 17 total, and the total amount on here, and I do remember before this total, we ended up paying off. I really wanted to pay off my Best Buy card, because that one was a really high interest and it was crazy, and I wanted to just get rid of it. So before I wrote this down, I ended up paying off my Best Buy card that I've had forever. So $1,900 every single month was going towards debt, which is crazy, and it's way more than what our rent is. Our rent back then was $1,295. So our total debt was $46,029. And again, this is all in snowball order. You guys, if you are struggling, if you have a lot of debt, step 1, you got to face your debt. You just have to. So write out a list. Write it all down so that you can come up with a game plan to pay it off and work it in your budget. So that is our debt overview. Now I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and we're going to create a debt payoff tracker, because you want to make sure that every single month that you are checking in on your balances. That was one of the other wake-up calls for us, that seeing that it wasn't going down, seeing our balances not going down as quickly as I hoped that they would, just seeing what the balances were just really lit a fire under us and wanted us to make sure we put way more than the minimum due and make sure that we prioritize paying off debt versus giving in to our wants in the moment. Yeah, so we're going to create a debt payoff tracker. So this one I'm going to do in pencil first, but I already put in the dots for the lines that I want to make. So I'm going to fast forward through this part so it's not too boring, and then I'll see you guys back after. So this is how the balance tracker turned out. The only time consuming part of this was just drawing in all the lines, but once that's done, every single month, you'll go in and check in on your balance, your payoffs. So what this has is all the months here across this way, and then the balance is one column, also a minimum amount due, because what I was noticing as I was paying things off, that the minimum balances were changing also. So for example, so with this card right here, my Synchrony card, the minimum balance was at first $44, then went down to $39, because as your balance goes down, usually your minimum payments due will go down as well. And then what else did I notice? So all of the accounts are all on here as we paid them off. This was a great year for us. It was a good and bad year because this was the year of the pandemic when it first started, and we did get our first round of stimulus payments, I think, in March. So we did put that to good use. We put that towards emergency fund and paying off some of our debts. So that's why we were able to make this much progress. Also, my husband was still working as usual. Thankfully for us, he was not one of the ones that, that lost his job or got laid off or anything. So yeah, so we were able to pay down a lot this year. Our goal was to pay off our consumer debt by November 2020, which was a total of $9,904. And we were able to do that, plus pay off one of my student loans as well. And then on here on this side, I put pay off goal dates. I put down the amount of debt that we had starting in 2020. So how I figured out the dates on how we would pay it off is just basically budgeting ahead of time with the amount that my husband gets paid and see what money we had left over to be able to pay off or to put towards debt. We were able to pay off earlier because what I didn't include in the calculations were our tax refund that received and the stimulus payments as well. So we were able to pay them off way before I had intentionally set for our goal payoff dates. So we were very, very, very fortunate that we received the stimulus pay, as well as we also got a tax refund as well that we put towards that. Plus, since we weren't paying our other debts that we were able to pay off, as you guys noticed here, we don't have certain debts that we had before. So this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 debts over here compared to the 17. So by the time we were in 2020, it looked like we didn't have our car payment anymore. We didn't have the one main loan that was $200 biweekly. So we had a lot of extra money to be able to throw at debt because we weren't paying off the other debts anymore. That's how we were able to make a lot of progress, is making sure that we snowballed those amounts that we were paying on the previous debts and paying off the rest of our debt. That is how the debt balance tracker looks. I decided to just do it all in pencil because I know if I did it in pen, it was just going to look weird and it was going to bleed through, or not bleed through, but show through like crazy. And I didn't want to do that. And also my pens are just being really weird on this paper for some reason, or in this notebook, or I don't know what it is, but decided to just do it all in pencil. I also have a quote on here because I like to put quotes everywhere. So this one has, I wrote down, wealth is not about having a lot of money, it's about having a lot of options. And that was a quote from Chris Rock. And yeah, so this is how this turned out. Let me know if you guys decide to create one of these yourselves. If you don't create the debt balance tracker, I highly suggest you at least write down all of your debts just so you're always aware of what you have. And maybe at the end of the month when you guys are budgeting, just do another list with an updated amount or something, like continuously write it down just so you're always aware. Hopefully that this debt overview list and debt tracker was helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you have one of these or if you're budgeting in a notebook as well. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, especially for watching till the end, and I will talk to you in my next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.